Hey.
Hi, Jules. I'm so excited to talk to you about Fatfish, and also I'm so excited that we can finally, celebrate your Chicago Spotlight Award, and I just to give people who are tuning in that don't know what I'm talking about at all. Cinema Femme Film Festival, the poster that's behind me, your name's on there. Jules, we've got Santos on the list of names.
Cute.
Um, but yeah, so we had our festival at the Music Box at the end of April and early May, and we gave some awards out at the end like we usually do. And this was our second year we did the Chicago Spotlight Award because it was our second time at the Music Box. And it's a very special award because it's not just me deciding who's going to be the Chicago Spotlight. Like I actually talked to people who are in the Chicago filmmaking community that saw some of the films, and so as a general consensus, we were like Chicago Spotlight goes to Jewells Santos for Fatfish, and I think it's perfect because of how scrappy of a production it was, and it just seems so like the essence of Chicago. And we'll get all into that, but the one of the things of the award is doing this interview, so I'm so glad we can do the interview. It's exciting, and I'm just really excited about you as a filmmaker. So I thought a good place to start was to talk about kind of your road into directing. I know you've done producing and some other things, but what brought you into directing, and also this particular project with Fatfish?
Okay. Thank you for that question. And I'm also honored to have won the Chicago Spotlight Award, and the festival is amazing. And um, I was so, yeah, inspired by so many of the films. Laughed,
I
cried. It was
know.
great.
Yeah.
As far as my road into directing, I actually have always wanted to direct since I was in high school.
Ah,
I was a big theater kid, and I would always love to be the assistant director or direct little things while I was in theater. And I winded up going to undergrad for playwriting. And
mhm.
my final play was called The Defilement of Wendy Diaz. And I ended up directing it and putting it up on myself, which was kind of, I think theater, I love theater, but there's
Yeah.
definitely this separation between writing and directing. You
Mhm.
need to write plays and be able to have other people interpret them. Um, and I realized I didn't really want to do that. I was like, I really want to
Mhm.
just write and direct
Yeah.
stuff. So while I was in undergrad, I winded up just being like, what if I tried doing film, and winded up doing PAing, and I worked as a director's assistant on like a Sundance
Yeah.
style film, and was like so inspired, and I was working in film as a PA and doing odd jobs, and I wanted to put so much focus into actually directing, and it led me to DePaul's master program in directing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just I was like, how can I get people to pay for things for me to direct and get to collaborate and just direct more
Right.
projects? And I super got into the music scene. I was already kind
Yeah.
of music scene in undergrad, and I, played guitar and sang, and I winded up just doing music videos because people would be like, I have $300. I have $1,000 if you want to direct this, if you want to direct a music video. So that's really how I got
That's so
into directing
cool.
film. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love your short music video that was at the showcase a couple weeks ago. Forgive me, I'm forgetting the name of it right now. What was the name? What's the name?
Nothing happens on Saturday anymore.
Yes, I
Yeah.
I loved it. It was definitely a major contender in our jury selection thing, and I love it, and it also is interesting to me because it seems so different than Fatfish. Like I kind of like how you're playing with all these different styles. What since we awarded you this for Fatfish, we can start talking about that film, but then I'd also love to talk to you about some of your other projects as well. But what was the inspiration for this film? Fatfish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. No, I was writing it for my second year film for grad school, and I wrote a way bigger project that had very similar elements to Fatfish. It was called Fatfish, and it involved same characters, but it was the younger sister getting married and kind of
Hmm.
the pressure of being the maid of honor, being the older one, the one that doesn't have their shit together, who is struggling with like intimacy and where she seeks validation. And I wanted to play with those characters in short form. And I also was
Hmm.
like, okay, it's my film too. This is coming out of my pocket, and my pocket is small. So
Right.
I wound up just taking those elements and making them smaller. And I think, I mean, they're super inspired by so many of my friends and dating experiences, my personal experiences
Hmm.
being,
Hmm.
a fat woman and embracing like intimacy and dating. And I think I spoke about this a little bit at Cinema Femme, but the fast I think there's um this need to work out things in my own life,
Hmm.
diary entry style and fictionalizing things. So I think a lot of the inspiration for Fatfish was, from my friends, from myself, from my dog. Not my dog, but my dog is.
Oh yeah, no, that is kind of funny now that I'm thinking about it. I just made the dog connection.
Yeah, and I just I I also, yeah, I think I also was just really inspired to write something like with bigger bodies. I try to do that in my music videos. I want to see bigger body people in Bronx and
Yeah,
all
it's okay.
things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I also saw like a TikTok where someone was talking about how it's so hard dating in a bigger body via dating apps because just they think someone swiped up on them and they're like, but do they know I'm fat? Are they sure? Did I not present myself correctly? Do I need to tell them before? Like this
Mhm.
fear of like meeting someone and being like, them being,
Yeah.
or like walking away or being like, I don't want to do this. So I think all those things really came together for this project. And that was my inspiration.
Yeah, and it was so funny during the Q&A because I was like, I think the way I asked the question was, I don't know, but basically it was a film that I felt connected to because in my 20s, you're doing all the different kind of dating stuff and a lot of that is online and it's like you just kind of go with it, right? But then you get in situations too where you're like, I don't like that, I don't want to do that,
Yeah.
and I did like the vulnerability of this film and just how you went there and you weren't afraid to like take us to this place that not many people talk about, like these, like, I mean, I don't know. We could go on a whole thing like Me Too and all that, but I'm not, it, but basically like it made me reminded me of that time in my 20s and you're in your 20s, right? I think
Mhm.
yeah, because I was gonna say the film that you and Lynn turned in together, I thought that was interesting too because it focused on a time in the late 20s and coming of age and so I really am grateful that you're making films that capture that the real essence of being in your 20s, and it yeah. So I don't know if you want to comment on that.
No, no, that's great. That's really,
Yeah.
it's messy. And I think so many also elements that I wrote for Fatfish and the actress who plays Fatfish, who I love so much, Mystica,
Mhm.
that she
Mhm.
really resonated with. And you write something that you're like, oh, here's just a story. And then so many things that come out of it, people's
Yeah.
experiences that feel so similar and why. I had a really great conversation with someone recently where they were asking me about the film and they're like, it's this relationship with being so like insecure in a way that is
Mhm.
self-obsessive where it turns around and feels like vanity. And it's something you deal with in
Mhm.
your 20s where it's like if you're
Yeah.
so insecure and you're so focused on what do you think I look
Yes.
like? Why do
Yes.
people like me? What do I look like? How is that different from being self-obsessed and vain? It just goes around in a
Yeah.
circle. And I thought, exactly.
Yeah. And I again, I'm so grateful for that. I mean, I it just makes me really excited about all the things that you're doing right now. And I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about any projects you're working on that you can talk about,
Yeah.
or I mean, we could get, yes, so I'll
Yeah.
let you take it
I think
away.
my first thing is just be in my like co-founder of Fatfish Films. We've been working through like short films similar to Fatfish in the vein where we really just
Mm.
have been interviewing and meeting with like our friends and kind of writing something about intimacy and hookup culture for them, one location. And we just shot a
Wow.
film about a young woman who I also love like Gen Z and like feeling like
Hmm.
almost anti-hookup culture too. So it's about a young woman who meets a guy who is still in college. She's like 26, he's like 21, and she winds up having a one night stand with him. They like really hit it off, and then they're like, might as well have sex, right? Even though
Yeah,
that's not really what either of them needed or wanted. And
right.
awkward the next day, but it's even more awkward because when she leaves her room to get ready for work,
Uh-huh.
she finds her dog dead.
Oh,
And
why
it's
you
about,
got all
yeah, I know,
these dogs?
all my things are about dogs. I can't, I've been,
Oh
yeah. So
my God.
it's in I think it's a lot more like there's this like romance to it that is not present in Fatfish. And I think that just comes from talking to
Uh,
friends and writing things
right,
about
right,
it.
right.
Because for
Yeah.
Fatfish, I feel like so much of the romance is between her and her sister. They don't get each other, but
Yes.
there's still this
Hmm.
connection. And so yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're working through that. We're hoping like we shot that one. We have one more we're shooting. So we'll have three
Wow.
short films that are kind of on this young people intimacy. And they're all really personal stories to make. And it's just been really fun to make stuff that it's really small. And I'm just focused on
Yeah. So,
characters.
I mean, this kind of reminds me of, God, I interviewed with, Matt, I'm sorry. I'm asking my husband a question. Question for the audience. Who is that woman I interviewed who did Ironheart? Bailey, Sam Bailey, Sam
Oh
Bailey.
yeah, I know
Okay,
Sam
Brown
Bailey.
Brown Girls or whatever.
Hmm.
Yeah, my brain is like off on Friday, so I apologize.
Oh,
But
no worries.
he started with just, and she is like you, very scrappy with Chicago filmmaking, and how she decided, oh, I'm not gonna do like one big film, like to kick things off. I'm gonna do these little mini webs, episodes. And I can almost see like what you're doing, what you share with me and with Fatfish could be like a series. And
Yeah.
I think it's really needed in the mainstream because I mean, we got like Euphoria or whatever, but this is like real. Like, I mean, it's just more like real life, real 20s, not necessarily like, bunch of rich kids or
Yeah.
whatever, like it has, I think it has an appeal. So like, yeah, basically, I would love to see a series.
Yeah. I love
Mhm.
it too because it's just like it's what I want to direct stuff. I want to direct narratives, and this is my way into it. I'm just
Yes,
writing kind of what I know, and I'm so
yeah.
inspired by my friends and like
Mhm.
what like the people I'm around. I sometimes I'm like, am I really that creative? Because I can only write really what's around me. I'm stealing just like
Yeah.
things I hear and things I experience, and I don't really know how to go beyond that. I feel like I need to really be able to touch the story. I'd let you
Yes.
maybe someday soon I'll do someone else's script, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think how you bring things to the screen is really interesting, like with Fatfish and how you use the cell phone and images and all that. Like it really brought like multi-dimensional layers to it. And again, it was very scrappy. So a question I do have is, since this is a Chicago Spotlight Award, I'm curious what you think is like distinguishes the Chicago filmmaking community, or what do you feel is special about the community?
Wow. That's such a great question. I think Chicago is home of like so many beautiful stories and filmmakers, and I only hope to be a part of how it can like continues to grow and continues to be put on the map. I especially think like the last 2 years I've gotten to go to the Chicago International Film
Mhm.
Festival, like the Chicago short films, and
Yes.
I've just been so blown away
Yeah.
from the films, the
Yeah.
Midwest films I've seen. I don't know, there's such a like culture to the Midwest, and I've
Mhm.
lived in Chicago now for 10 years, and I it feels so embedded in, now how I see the world, how I see relationships. And I think
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's it's scrappy short films, as far as the ones I've
Yeah.
really connected with, have
Mhm.
been, they really pulled it together. There's like a community, it's friends, it's people like giving their time.
Mhm.
Um, and hopefully like a continued growth of like people getting to have bigger budget things that they
Yes.
conceive, make, post, and make Chicago. Like I really think that there's so many people that
Mhm.
I've gotten to work with who are just really on the ups in their career. And as far as I've talked, planning on staying in Chicago, which I think we is what we really
That
need.
is great. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. And I think it's really special too because I really the independent filmmaking community in Chicago, I feel like needs to
Oh
have
my gosh, I'm so
oh, that's
sorry.
okay. That's
I
okay.
don't I don't know how to turn that fight like.
I, you know what? I have the same issue. I mean, basically, what I was trying to say is, I feel like the spotlight is on all these like series and stuff that's on, I don't know. I guess that's been the money making, these
Yeah.
television series that are coming to Chicago, which is great. But I also would love to see more of a spotlight on the independent filmmaking community as well, not just like these big productions coming from Hollywood being shot here. Like I like the homegrown stuff. So yeah, I'm just really excited about all the work you're doing. And
Yeah.
yeah, it just gives me energy and I just love it. I guess my last question would be, what do you hope people see in your work? I mean, I don't know if you have a mission at all. I mean, it seems like you are touching on something very special and unique. Do you have an answer to that? I mean,
No,
I know
that's a great
you're evolving.
question.
I know you're evolving as a filmmaker, but
Definitely.
yeah,
I'm learning every time I make something. Like I think that's
yeah,
my something so beautiful about filmmaking. I don't think I'll ever be like, I'm a master of this.
right.
Maybe like I'm getting better every time, and learning stuff about myself and like the stories I want to make. Um, you said earlier you were talking about my music videos and like the style being really different. I think
Yes,
I have
yeah.
such a love for music videos. I grew up watching music videos with my grandma. Like every morning we would watch music
Ah,
videos. And I think something that I love about them is that I get to collaborate with an artist and live in like what they want to put into the world, what their music feels like, and just play. And it
yeah.
feels like I can kind of genre bend in that way. And I hope to continue like, doing music videos because it's, such an exploration between narrative and aesthetic. And I feel like it makes me a better music director, like narrative director. And then as far as my narrative projects go, I hope to always be scared to
Mhm.
show people things. I think I don't think that'll be a problem, but I think there's a vulnerability I always want to bring to my filmmaking. And I
Mhm.
think if there's skin in the game, if I feel like I'm sharing something that is hard to say, is something that feels like a diary entry or feels like it's something scary or something that maybe hasn't been said in this way before, then I'm doing something right. So I think
Yes,
something that feels too close for comfort. Those are the kind of films I love where I'm like shocked and yet it feels
yes.
familiar and it feels
Uh-huh.
like something I can relate to.
Yeah.
Um, And I hope to do that for other people. I want to put things on screen that I don't think are really there and yet feel
Yes.
relatable and vulnerable. So that's what I'd
Yeah.
love to do. Also, I love intimacy. I know that's great. I don't think I'll ever
No,
be working with
I
an
think
intimacy director. I feel like it's everything, like intimacy between
yes,
lovers, sister,
yes.
intimacy as a theme is just, I love it. So
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
yeah.
Well, I am a super fan, like I can't wait till I get my Jewells Santos t-shirt. I have all
Yeah.
these filmmaker t-shirts. I'm gonna, yeah, I don't know. We'll see if Cinema Femme can spin off to some t-shirt thing.
I'd
Like
love that.
we'll see. Maybe next year's swag will bring
Yeah.
some filmmaker t-shirts in. But yes, thank you for speaking with me, and we'll be getting this up next week. And yeah, I'll share the link with you when it's up.
Yeah. And thank you so much again for having me as a part of this festival.
Of
Like it
course.
was honestly, it really was so amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad to have met you and been a part
Yes.
of this and hope to like continue to be a part of the Cinema Femme universe and fest because yeah,
Yes.
it's amazing.
It
I
is
loved it.
amazing. And we are going in a nonprofit organization direction, and I think that's really going to be helpful for future festival years. So yeah, I'm excited. I think we're on the ways up. So
Yeah,
stay tuned.
I
But
will
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, so thank you, Jules, and I hope you have a good weekend. And I'm excited to share this interview with everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a crazy week. And I graduate tomorrow, so
Oh my God, what? And you're
yeah.
teaching me. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you
So,
so much too. Okay, have a good Friday.
yeah, you too. Okay.
Oh, Rebecca, I also want to talk to you about the
Oh,
time for doing something in the
no,
past.
oh, yes.